Avengers Infinity War is the culmination of the first 10 years of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Written by Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, directed by the Russo brothers, and starring all of these people, Avengers Infinity War is an incredibly fun, sometimes problematic story.
He only ever had one goal. To wipe out half the universe. If he gets all the Infinity Stones, he can do it with the snap of his fingers.
The end is approaching for Earth's mightiest heroes, as Thanos, the villain that Marvel has been building up to for the past 10 years, finally approaches. His goal is to take all the Infinity Stones and wipe out half the universe.
Let's talk about this plan of yours. I think it's good, except it sucks. So let me do the plan, and that way it might be really good. Wow.
So this review is going to be a little bit of a different structure. It's going to be structured similar to how we did the review of Star Wars The Last Jedi, where I'll give you my pre-spoiler thoughts, things I've thought about that I can talk about confidently without giving anything away from the movie, and then I'll give you a clear warning, a link to skip to if you want to avoid the spoilers, and then we'll talk about my thoughts that are more spoilery. So here we go with my pre-spoiler thoughts. And they're really simple. One, the action is fantastic. These are some of the most visually interesting and just damn coolest fights I've ever seen in a Marvel movie. I can't really say more than that because it'd give away who's fighting who, but they're pretty damn awesome. And the only other thing I can really talk about pre-spoilers is that the acting is so good in this, with the standouts being all of the Guardians of the Galaxy. I love them so much. But really, Chris Pratt is fantastic. They all are. I really liked Robert Downey Jr. in this as Iron Man again. I think he's wonderful. I really liked Tom Holland in this one. I was surprised to have enjoyed him as much as I did, because as you know, if you saw our review of Spider-Man Homecoming, I was just kind of about him. And I also really enjoyed Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange. I liked the Doctor Strange movie, so I guess I'm not surprised, but I thought he was really good in this. Okay, guys, so if you haven't seen this movie yet, I'm about to go into my thoughts that include spoilers. If you want to just see our conclusion to the review and what our score was, skip to this point in the video. 3, 2, 1. So, almost all of my problems with this movie come in its third act. Now, that might not be a popular opinion for most, but I'll try my best to explain why it is I think that the third act is where the movie starts to struggle with. And I'll go from like the least important-esque stuff to the more important stuff. For one thing, I personally thought that Wakanda and Black Panther were really underused in this movie. I know that it was marketed as a big crossover, but personally, when I saw that we were going to be flat out in Wakanda and that Black Panther was going to have a bit of I thought, a more important role, I really thought we'd get a little more of the personality that we saw in Black Panther of the nation of Wakanda. And damn, Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther's charming, and he doesn't do much here. And going off of that, as I call it, the Wakandan front in the climax, where obviously the big battle between Thanos' army and all the Avengers besides those who are stuck on Titan, I really was just kind of bored with that part of the climax. I thought that it's been done before. I mean, I saw a meme recently of, it's that meme of copying the homework, but it's George Lucas and then Marvel, because it looks, I didn't notice this, but it looks a lot like Star Wars Episode 1, The Battle on Naboo, or really any big final war battle climax, which I was just kind of like, but in some respects that's not the most important part of the plot, and it's just kind of a front to have this battle. So that was the first kind of an issue I had with it. And then my biggest problems with this come in that last 25 or so minutes. After Thanos gets the Time Stone and makes his way to Earth, I think that in some respects it just becomes a stupid comic book movie. And here's what I mean by that. Like, I did think that, like, each Avenger attacking Thanos one-on-one was really cool. I thought that the fight sequences were really cool with that. And I get that the Time Stone is literally, its power is controlling time, but I thought it was really stupid how you get that really emotional scene with the Scarlet Witch and Vision where she destroys it. And then Thanos is like, nope, F you. Let me rip it out of his head. Let's kill him twice. And I thought that was dumb. And then our junior consultant, Mike Adams, pointed out that literally through the whole movie they're stressing with a snap of his fingers, he'll wipe out half the universe. But the whole apocalypse sequence, or whatever you want to call it, apocalypse, fan-pocalypse, half off sale on the MCU, whatever you want to call it, it just feels so sudden and just so, like, weirdly quick. I don't know if this makes sense, but I've articulated this point a couple times with people. Like, throughout the movie, they're like, this will be the end of existence. This will be half the universe disappearing. And it's just like, barring a couple emotional scenes, like I think Tom Holland's Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good death is legitimately emotional. And I personally was very sad to see Groot die again. Just, why MCU? I know that it makes perfect sense, but it's just so mean to kill him again. Please stop. But barring like those two in particular, it just feels so rushed that he's just like, and then people just start disappearing. And going back to what I said about Wakanda, although I do understand exactly what they're doing, they've actually, if you know this, they're setting up to have just the original Avengers and Rocket Raccoon in Avengers 4. But at the same time, I was really disappointed to see Black Panther just disappear. And they killed all the Guardians, although we know that that's another problem I have with that, is that just the tension of watching them die is kind of not real. Because we know that most of these properties in the MCU have their sequels or third movies confirmed. Like, we know Guardians 3 is a thing. Obviously, Black Panther 2 is going to be a thing. So in some respects, in my mind, it took away from some of the emotion. But in the end, I can't let the end of this movie outweigh the incredibly fun time the rest of it is. Like, some of those fights, now that we're in spoilers, I'll talk a little bit about some of my favorite fights. I really did like that first sequence where Hulk is fighting Thanos. I just thought, oh, two big burly things swapping at each other. I thought that was awesome. And there were genuinely emotional points that I loved in this movie. Like, Gamora's death just hurt my heart. And while a lot of people are like, oh, Peter Quill effed everything up, I look at that scene, again, not as a victory, but I was like, that was really powerful. We really connected with him there. Because you see that while he's only half human, he's a human being with feelings. He made a big oopsie, but still, he's a person. And you know that he's not going to be dead, so it's like, oh well. I kind of have this mixed bag of emotions with the ending of the movie, but I definitely enjoyed it overall. Avengers: Infinity War is a great movie. It's clearly the culmination of a lot of hard work from a lot of incredibly talented individuals. its great acting and incredible action make for one of the most enjoyable comic book movie experiences I've ever seen. A 5 out of 5.